Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. This is Wendy Miller. I'm Rob Nixon. We are your hosts today to take you through a really cool webinar. It's our last webinar of the year. And this one is all about workflow success. Now, Wendy, many have met me, but they've not met you. So introduce yourself, please.
Absolutely. I'm excited to do so. 25 years in the accounting profession this year, Rob. It was a little scary when I discovered that recently. So everybody, I'm Wendy Miller. I've been working alongside Rob Nixon now for the past 5 years. And prior to that in another business, in fact, for 4 years. I grew up in accounting firms, worked my way through administration roles, business management roles, development, training and assessing. And I find myself here today sitting on the other side of that seat, working with hundreds of accounting firms all over the world to teach you guys the methodologies that help you succeed in your businesses. So here we are. Thanks,
Here we
Rob.
are. Awesome. Little co-host thing here. So we are coming to you from Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast in Australia. We need to know where you're from. Make sure you can hear us as well. I want you to open up the chat. We're going to be talking today through the chat. You're all your lines are muted. So open up the chat and just pop in there. Hi from. We've got people from Washington already. Someone from Sydney. Interesting. Elizabeth, Ontario. We've got San Diego, Seattle. Cool. But just want to make sure you pop hi from wherever you're from. Center of the universe, Epping. Very good, Mark. Cool. We've got some Australians on here. We've got Miami. We've got Sweden. Cool. Lovely. Raleigh, North Carolina. Orlando. Keith, good to see you here as always. Kevin may get a little intro today, Keith, just so you know. Not more Australian. Coeur d'Alene. Love Coeur d'Alene. What a great place that is. Played Gozza Ranch the other month in Coeur d'Alene. And I played the Coeur d'Alene Golf Course. Calgary, Seattle, you're all here. Awesome. Richard Page, good to see you, man. Okay. So team, this is what we're going to do. You're going to use the chat to chat with us. As we go through this content, you're going to ask us questions or not, up to you, to clarify on anything. We want to give you an awesome 90 minutes. We've got 90 minutes together till 1:30 the next hour. 90 minutes together, all about workflow success. So let's get into it. Let's get into it and talk about workflow success. Now, first of all, why did my video disappear? All right, we'll get into that later, work that out. So let me first of all talk to you about the journey that you are on, whether you know about it or not. So we call this the profit time journey. We're all about increasing your profit and reducing your personal time as partners, effectively getting more efficient, delegating away. Today's webinar is going to be all about workflow and time, right? So it's all about time, all about efficiency. So the journey that you're on, whether you know about it or not, is as follows. You start your life in your accounting practice as a practice owner, a practitioner practicing. Let me just do something here real quick. Sorry about that. I need to do this. Boom, I've already got it done. All right, cool. Just have to check a setting. A practitioner practicing your craft, doing what the business does. You grew up that way in the accounting business. As Wendy said, she grew up in admin and business management roles, but you typically grew up in the doing role. And here you are now as a practice owner and typically grinding it out and working way too much in your business, way too much in it. Spending time too much on the tools without the ability to really grow your business because you're in it day in, day out. And the money's okay, but you don't have a huge amount of time. And so many of you are at that stage right now. When we get a hold of you, one of the first things we do, when we say we get a hold of you, we don't physically get a hold of you, right? Unless we give you a hug and have a beer, is when we start working with you, coaching you, we want to flip the switch and turn you into a business owner. A business owner, and it's not just about a mindset, it starts there, but it's also about an activity as well. And the activity change is where you spend now more time working on the business than in the business. You've heard that term before. Michael Gerber coined that phrase in the wonderful seminal book called The E-Myth in 1986, would you believe? More time working on it than working in it. So you're spending more time working on the business, growing, developing the business, than doing what the business does. And this changes the dynamics dramatically. And this is where you have more money and more time. Awesome, right? We like that a lot. But there's a third level. And the third level is if you choose to get there, and it's your choice, is what we call investor level. An investor level is where you've worked yourself as the owner out of every single job. So you've hired tax managers to do the high-end tax work, right? You've hired a marketing professional or a team to do the marketing piece. You've hired salespeople to do the selling piece. You've hired administrative people. You've hired business management people to run the business. And you've hired people who are going to manage the client relationships. What's left? You've got nothing to do. Awesome. Now we're an owner, but not an operator. And now we've got an asset that can produce, and create generational wealth. We just helped a firm get there after 18 months. Shannon was on our webinar just a couple of weeks back. We worked intensely with her for 18 months, and now she's on her own. She's worked herself out of every single job. She's taken by the way, she's also taken the revenue from 1.2 to $3 million in the same period of time, worked herself out of a job. These are levels to get to. Your choices to where you stop, where you start. We typically start where we are today, of course, but where you go. You decide what pace and what level of your personal activity in this business. I want you to meet someone from San Antonio, Texas, who did this in just a couple of years. And then we'll get into the topic. I want to give you a bit of hope initially, right? And then we'll get into the topic. Here's Shannon.
Hi, my name is Shannon Badger, and my husband and I own a CPA firm in Texas, and I just wanted to share a little bit about our experience with Rob Nixon's boardroom. My husband and I founded our firm in 2014, and we joined boardroom in the fall of 2018. So we were about 4 years in, and we were $1 million in revenue. We had 10 employees. We had a lot of partner billable time. And honestly, we were really struggling with owner alignment and burnout, and we weren't getting a lot of time with our kids. We had 4 children under the age of 5. And so it was just a really difficult season of life. And so we invested in the program, and we implemented for about 2 years in the program. And then we've continued to implement the principles we learned the last 3 years. And now our firm is about 7 million in revenue. We have 46 employees. We only have 140 clients, and our average client size is 50,000 per client. And we also have 0 partner charge time. So we get to come into client meetings when we want to, but we don't have any client deadlines or billable time allocated to us in the firm. And that's really been life-changing because we can focus on the firm initiatives and sales and the other places that our firm needs us, training, developing our team, stuff like that. So it's truly been a gift. I would encourage you to consider it. Sometimes you feel like you might know what you need to implement in your firm, but the reality is if you were going to do it on your own, you would have done it already. And so it's good to have a support group. It's good to have a coach. And I guarantee you the ROI really is there. And so if you're considering it, I would be happy to even be a reference or talk through our experience. But I highly recommend the program. I believe all CPA firms should be in it at some point because the tools really have been life-changing for us. Thank you.
So team, this is totally doable, right? You select your time frame, your speed, your journey to get to where you want to get to. Now, you're obviously on this webinar because you are not entirely happy with where you're currently at. And that's cool, right? Totally cool. So we're here to help, right? But we have an agenda. And our agenda is that we've got capacity right now to start with 8 firms to coach them. Just like we coached Shannon, mentioned before, and 2 Shannons, by the way, Shannon Stewart, one mentioned, and then Shannon Badger. And we want to help you to take you to the next level. So I'll mention this towards the end as well. If you're more than $1 million in revenue now, because our starting mark is $1 million, 1 to 5 aligned partners. 1 to 5 partners must be on the same page. You're ambitious, you really want to kick this thing into gear, and you're coachable, it means you'll implement, then let's meet and see if we can help. So there's a QR code here, but also I'll put a thing in the chat, which will be a meeting with Wendy around implementation. Oops, wrong one. Do that. Everyone, go. Will be a meeting with Wendy around where you're at implementation-wise and to see essentially if we can help. All right, so that's so the QR code will appear on pretty much every slide. That's available all throughout the webinar, exploratory meeting to see if we can really help you. So let's do an overview of the things you need to do in your firm to get you to more time on the business and investor level if you choose to. This is like the high level, and then we're going to narrow it right down today. So the objective is meaning, profit, and meaning, freedom, and lifestyle. And we measure along the way average hourly rate, efficiency, clients, etc., profit, cash, profit time index. And depending on your implementation effectiveness and speed will determine how quickly you get to your goals. For Shannon Badger, it was 2 years with us and then 3 years on their own. Awesome. We want this to do a big heavy burst and then go to your own and finish it off. There are 4 stages to your journey. And you're on a webinar today about workflow and time and efficiency, but there are other things to do. Fix stage, minimize stage, scale stage, and lead stage. We call this the profit time system. So under fix, we've got things like pricing up front, right? Increasing pricing, value pricing, charging appropriately for your work. Recurring revenue packaging, that takes quite a period of time if you're not there yet, right? Monthly recurring revenue. Managing scope creep and scope seep. Lock-up production, so making sure we've got accounts receivable sorted out, work in progress is all billed, sorted out. Client mix, sorting out the client base that you've got today. Fixing client service program and your communication process. Fixing the day-to-day. Under minimize, minimizing time. So here's workflow management, our topic for today. Client concierge service, time allocation, all jobs. All about minimizing time. Technology in the firm, technology with clients, systems and processes, learning development, and then partner time and partner efficiency, which we're going to talk a bit about today with a delegation model that you're going to get. By the way, you'll get all the recordings of today and you'll get the slides as well after the webinar when the recording is finished. Maybe it needs to be edited, not too sure. We'll see how we go. Scale, so growth, right? Top line growth, brand development, client goals documented, finding opportunities in current work, niche markets, lead generation, productization, making sure that we've got sales process and sales skills, and then where's the team going to be located, onshore, offshore, or outsource, or all 3. And then leading, so leading your business, right? Operational plan, vision, mission, BHAG, values, organizational structure. We've got reporting and accountability, team culture, team performance, themes and celebrations, and meeting rhythms, and that rounds out our profit time system. Wendy, you're in it every day. I'm in it every day working with firms. Where do you see firms need to start?
Yeah, I was just thinking that when Shannon said, if we know what we need to do, most people know what they need to do, but it's getting started. And we've often had this whole profit time system referred to as like a roadmap or a blueprint, if you like, of what we need to do and where we need to go. And so where firms need to start, well, they need to start by having a chat with us just to see what's going on in the business and maybe see those blind spots. But fix is often where we simply get in and do a recheck. Think of it of taking your car to the mechanic and having a bit of a service. We're just looking things over initially. And some of those might be big repairs because we've ignored them for a little while. But oftentimes, it's often a lot of small tweaks in that fix area that will make a massive difference for your firm performance.
And the topic today of workflow management, let's not kid ourselves. It's a big topic, right? It's a big topic. We're going to give you over the next hour and a bit, hour and 15, a lot of detail around workflow management and efficiency. We're doing this in December because most of you are North America, USA and Canada. You've got literally 2 months before you start to get busy again, right? And so we wanted to do this webinar today to give you some ammunition, to give you some skills, some tools to implement for free, because we can't help everyone. That's why we do these free webinars, by the way, because we can't help everyone. And that way you've got a couple of months to implement workflow management. But as Wendy said, there's going to be other things as well, right? There's going to be a lot of other things to sort out, but workflow management, will not get it solved completely in the next 2 months. So let's just be buyer beware, right? It is not going to be 100% the next 2 months, but let's give you some ammo and help you out with workflow success. So here's our objective. Our objective with workflow is a question. The question is, how much more efficient, as in reduction in time, can your firm be? Now, if, of course, you price in arrears, you don't want to do that. If you reduce your time by 50% and you price in arrears on an hourly rate model, you'll have to double your hourly rates to make the same money. So just be warned, you must also price up front at the same time. So the objective is reduction in time, efficiency, faster throughput, less bottlenecks, less deadline chasing, etc., etc. So here is the problem. Here is the number one problem that makes your firm inefficient. The number one problem was mentioned many years ago in 1956 by Cyril Northcote Parkinson, 1958. And he said, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. That's what happens. Work expands. So what that means is people will work to deadlines, right? If I've got more time, I'll spend more time. If I've got less time, I'll spend less time. We have to believe this. We have to know this. So with that in mind, let's get into what accountants do every day. What do accountants do every day? When you're doing client work, of course. I'm talking about client work accounting team. What do you think they actually do? Well, and some of you might say, well, that's a really good question, Rob. I don't know what they do, right? So let us give you the answer. What accountants spend their time doing for the majority of the time is checking and processing. Checking and processing. Even if the client, your client, has an internal bookkeeper, your accountants still check all the work. What's the point of having the bookkeeper? And processing the work, checking and processing. Why do they spend so much checking and processing? Because of three distinct things. Number one, at the client side, the work is inefficient. It's not right? So the client stuffs it up. Then it comes to the accountants. They too are inefficient. They are inefficient. Then, because of the methods, you think about your accounting business. You've got 10 accountants, let's say. You've got 2 partners. You've got some admin as well. You're a 15, 16 person firm, for example. You're going to have 10 different ways of doing everything. That is inefficiency. You go to a fast food outlet, a franchise chain, they got one way of doing everything. One way. My brother used to own Subway stores. He had 19 at one stage, and he lived by the big manual. There was only one way to do it. Only one way to do it, right? So that's the second reason why you're inefficient. And the third reason, one you can't fix, is the government also has inefficient systems as well. So you've got this chain of data, right? Data in our American friends. You've got chain of data that starts at the client side as they do transactions. Transactions either with their customers and suppliers and employees. Then it comes to you working on those transactions, cleaning them up, and then you go to the file with the government, and it's a chain of data flow. So I want to expand your mind a bit here as to what's possible. And I want you to think of, okay, if we are going to look at our current workflow situation now, and we're going to measure completion time, hours on the job, and we're going to measure turnaround time, time in the shop, in and out, right? So completion time, time doing the work, and also turnaround time, time in and out. And let's say that the consistent hours on the job is 20 for the client, and the consistent turnaround time is 30 days, right? 2 measures, client time on job, and then turnaround time in and out of shop. So 20 and 30. What if we said, okay, the goal on the client time is 2 hours, and the goal on the turnaround time is 5 days, right? 20 to 2, 30 to 5. You're going to say that's impossible. Can't be done. Well, let me give you a tool, a thinking tool to take to your team to see if it could be done. And this is all about building a house. So my buddy Michael was coaching back in the day, Australia's second largest home building company. And their time to build a house was 120 days. They were the second biggest in the country, 120 days commercial real estate. Michael is in front of the executives, 24 executives in the room. And he says, executives, something like I just said to you. I've gone 20 hours to 2, 30 days to 5. He says, executives, how do we build the house in 10 days? From 120 to 10. They said, you got to be kidding me, mate. Not possible. We're the second biggest in the country and we're 120. We're pretty good. No, Michael. And then Michael said the following, and I want you to think about the following. He said, look, I know it can't be done. But if it could be done, hypothetically, if it could be done, what would need to fix, stop, start, alter, redo, different system, different process, different whatever, to make it close to being done? So he got them into a hypothetical world. And I want you with your team to get yourself into a hypothetical world. Like, I know it can't be done, right? We can't go from 20 hours to 2. We can't go from 30 days to 5, right? But if it could be done, hypothetically, start brainstorming. So Michael, with the home builders, started brainstorming. And for 2 hours, they brainstormed. Flip chart, idea after idea after idea after idea. 2 hours, they're done. And Michael simply says, just go and do that. And they did. They couldn't do it all. They couldn't control the weather, for example. And they did, and they didn't hit 10 days, but they did hit 42. From 120 to 42 as a home builder, what they do to cash flow? Up the wazoo. Awesome. What about referrals? Awesome. Customer service? Awesome. It's all good. But it started with a thinking tool and a brainstorming tool. I'm going to give you the same challenge. 120, how do we get it to 2? 30 days, how do we get to 5? I know it can't be done. But hypothetically, if it could be done, what would need to fix, alter, redo, different system, different process, different whatever to make it close to being done? Start with that. Start brainstorming with your team members ideas and solutions. Ideas and solutions. Wendy, what do we typically find when firms do this exercise with their team?
With the workflow, what we find, pretty much every firm has a workflow process already. And so often it's understanding, and if they haven't got it documented, first and foremost, just understanding exactly what is the flow of our workflow. What does it look like? Getting that up on the whiteboard. And then taking a look at our methodology that we have and comparing it to that and saying, well, there are some gaps. There are some things that we could apply that would give us that efficiency, that effectiveness, help us build more rapport, have more opportunities for our clients. And so often where you say there, Rob, what would we need to fix, alter, redo? There is often always something at least that will help enhance that workflow process, reduce that time, get faster throughput, happier clients, lots of great outcomes for everyone.
See, team, you have to believe there's opportunity within your current workflow. And you have to believe there's a lot of capacity. There's a lot of, but with efficiency gains, there is tons and tons of capacity, right? So capacity is often in the way that you currently do it. This is all, today's webinar is all about efficiency, fast throughput, time, etc. And what we discovered is accountants, when doing the accounting work for their clients, are doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing. So here is the origination of what Wendy and I are about to take you through. So I was in a workshop many, many years ago in Australia, and I did that little exercise, and I didn't do the time frame, 20 hours to 2, 30 to 5. I just threw it out to the team and said, okay, team, how can we get more efficient? And the receptionist, I can still see her, right? Seminal part in my career. Hand goes up, front lady in the front row. She says, have the accountants stop doing admin work? I said, what do you mean? She said, I see them every day doing admin work. I said, what are you talking about? She said, they're doing this and doing that. So, okay, accountants, let's brainstorm what admin work you do. And so we came up with 30 admin tasks that accountants regularly do. Now, these tasks need to be done, but not by the accounting team. For example, client additions, and see how many of these, by the way, your accountants tick off. Additions, deletions, returning client records, typing letters, emails, right? Filing of any sort, dealing with government correspondence, changing appointments, fee prep, checklist of information, reviewing and checking documents, contacting clients and missing stuff. There's the first 10 off the bat, right? But we got to 30 with this group really fast. Lodging of each job on the workflow register, work papers, first draft of budget, monitoring work in progress, lodgements and filing. It goes on and on and on and on as to what accountants do with the whole checking and processing piece. This is the admin piece. You know, student loan family support statements, completion family trust minutes, all admin, printing, accounting software data in and out, incorporation companies. You know, seriously, accountants, what are you doing? I thought you were accountants. Where did the accounting piece go? How much time do you spend doing administrative tasks associated with the accounting work? So that was this lead-up question after the first question, as in, sorry, the question after the first one. So the first one was, what do you do with your time? Got this big list. Second one was, how much time do you guys spend doing this every day? And it ranges, as we've done this in workshops, as we do this today, from 1 to 4 hours per accountant per day. So let's do a little exercise, a bit of fun. Here it is. We're going to have an equation. You've got to have an equation when we're in an accountant's webinar, right? So let's say you've got 8 accountants on your team. And of those tasks, admin tasks associated with the accounting work, they spend 2 hours per day each. Let's call it 5 days in the week. I know in busy time you work longer than that. And that gives us 80 hours per week for this small team doing admin work associated with the accounting work. So we'll take that 80, bring it down here. We've got, let's say the office is open for 50, just for round figures. You can work out your exact numbers. That gives us total hours, 4,000. 4,000 admin hours, which may or may not be charged to clients. We take that 4,000, and let's say your average hourly rate is 150 bucks. That is $600,000 worth of capacity right there. $600,000 worth of capacity in the accounting team if we just went and hired 2 or 3 administrative team members, which we'll give a title to in a moment, administrative team members to do the accounting work. Now, the work, and by the way, these administrative team members started their life as a client service assistant, and then client service coordinator, as a title, client excellence coordinator. And these days, our firms that we coach either call them a client concierge or a client excellence coordinator. Team, we are hiring people right off the bat. And by the way, if that was charged, it gets charged again. If it's a part of the fee, awesome. You've just freed up a lot of capacity in the accounting team. And you can do that pretty quickly. Game changer, absolute game changer. So we're going to talk about what people do and the process that they do it. There are 5 stages to workflow. 5 stages. There's the preparation stage, there's the setup stage, the doing stage, selling stage, and the internal review stage as well. So Wendy, I'm going to get you to run through most of this because you are the workflow queen. You started your life. Did you start? I think you're 17. You told me when you started in the accounting firm. Was it 17?
Yeah, wow. Now you've just given all the secrets away. Thanks for that.
Oh, right, sorry. Plus the 25. I've got it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, awesome. Rob, did you want to, you leaving it on this slide?
I'll drive it. I'll drive it. So we've got when do you take it away?
Okay. So what was developed from speaking with all of our accounting firms was the 25-step workflow process. And where we talked about those 5 stages, you'll notice as we go through these, it's really important that you identify how each of these steps is really critical in that stage. And that preparation stage, as we go through these, the first one is just scheduling the work in advance, knowing what's coming in, feeding our team, making sure that their capacity is being utilized. And that is done by the fulfillment manager of our firms and our client excellence coordinator. In that preparation stage, we meet with the client, make sure we know what's going on in the job. We value price the job. That was one of the elements in the fix area of our profit time system. And we get that client to sign off the scope. You know, yes, I agree. This is the work that I want you to do. Rob, you can tap through those first 4 in the preparation stage there. And what I'll highlight for you is this is preparation. This is getting everything up front, proactive with the client, the discussions up in front, so that there's no surprises. No surprises on our side, no surprises on the client's side. And you'll notice there that the CEC, the client concierge, is already in the job in this preparation phase. Client managers having a say, and then that overall fulfillment manager is helping to manage the flow of things. Then we head up into our second phase, the phase of setup, and this is heavily administrative. And so, Rob, you can click through to 13 steps there. In this administrative stage, our concierge, the facilitator of the admin, they're sending out that checklist to the client to make sure we can get all documentation in. We're checking that everything's been received. You know, do we have that bank statement? Is there a buy-sell document? If there's any missing information according to that process, it's still with the administration team. So they're contacting the client. They're updating the calendar of self-imposed deadlines as opposed to just leaky timelines, if you like. They're getting the job into the workflow system. They're getting a draft budget of time in there, setting up work papers, again, an administrative task that basically all of these steps through to 13 allows that accountant to sit down to a ready to start job. And again, if we look at the who column there, client concierge is touching every single one of those steps. In fact, we talk about 25 steps, 17 of these are performed by the client concierge. Heading into the actual doing of the job, this is where our accountants are incredibly valuable with what they do for us. They can sit down and start that job. In theory, there's no pick up, put down anymore. And this is where we play into our efficiency and our effectiveness, where the accountant can actually focus on thinking deeply about the work that they're doing, looking for any opportunities, and of course, speaking with the client. So, Rob, going through to step 18 there, the doing phase, get the job done. We're communicating our progress. You know, some jobs are really big jobs. Some jobs get turned around literally in an hour, and that is okay. When we get working with you guys one-on-one, we contextualize what workflow process do we have for what area or division or department in your business. But essentially through that, communication is a big piece. Letting the client know where we are, how we're going, making sure those deadlines are going to be met, giving total peace of mind and meeting our promises. The job is reviewed. If there is any additional questions for the client concierge is the one who is reaching out. You know, hey, Joe's working on your job. He's just got a question. Can we book a time for the two of you to get together and speak on that? So it's all about efficient process, as opposed to things like playing phone tag or writing up an email, sending it off and it not getting responded to for weeks on end. And before we realize, we've got a pile of jobs that are unanswered and unfinished. So this is about getting work through the office effectively. After the doing phase, we head into what we call the selling phase. And this one's super powerful because it is about building rapport. It is about furthering the relationship. It's about saying to the client, hey, we've taken care of your obligations and met your most basic and essential needs, the things that we agreed on at the start of the job in that preparation phase. But also what it says is, here's what else we found. And are you happy with our services? And do you know anybody like you that might like to be referred to us? It is an opportunity to sell, whether it's selling another piece of work, selling yourselves, selling the client relationship, the client retention, if you like. And that one, of course, is done by the client manager because that is the face of that relationship in that instance. And then finally, the fifth step is a more recent addition where we realized there's got to be an opportunity for us to really put a bow on things from an internal perspective that affects essentially the external. And when I say internal, what are the systems and the processes and the reminders and things that we're building in internally so that we never drop the ball on our client relationships, versus how that's received by the client. So it has an external result. And so in here, it's things like updating the system with any administrative notes. You know, did we find out that that client has an anniversary, or they've picked a date when they're going to be selling the business? Have we scheduled reminders for those things? Have we categorized our clients? You know, from year to year, we could be working on where a client has come through a phase of absolute growth, and then in the next year, they've sold their business. Categorization accordingly would say they've gone from, say, an A-class client to maybe a C-class client. Why is that important? Because of all the other areas in your business where you might want to be able to pull up a report on categories of your clients and work with different client groups for different purposes. Did we learn something in this job that we can put on the team training register? And do we need to pop a flag on this client because they've entered a particular industry, and maybe we can keep them up to date with industry related content? This is all the role of the client concierge. And that there rounds out the 25 steps, of which I said earlier, 17 of those can absolutely be performed by this awesome role of the client excellence or the client concierge.
So team, this is a process. It is software agnostic. We don't care what software you use. It is a process of what happens next, what happens next, what happens next. This, Wendy just went through that in 10 minutes or less. This is actually a 90-minute training that we actually have for the firms we coach to work with their team members to pull all this apart. So you're getting the Christmas fast track on this one. But there's so much in there, in that one slide. Now you'll get a copy of the slides, of course. You can print that out and work through it, of course, up to you. There's lots and lots in there. What we want you to do over the next 2 months to get ready for your busy season is to pick out as many of those that you can to actually implement and get more efficient for next year. And there'll be some highlights straight away. You think about it, right? I always ask the question when I've done live workshops with accountants, so team, how to reduce the time? So going back to the 20 hours to 2 hours and the 30 days to 5 days, I throw it out there and say, right, team, how do we do that? And I get the same 5 answers. The same 5 answers to reduce time dramatically from your team members. They say, we need to gather all the information before starting. That's where the checklists that Wendy mentioned come into it. We need to have self-imposed deadlines communicated to team and clients, as in we've got an hour's budget. So these are self-imposed examples of deadlines. An hour's budget on the job. You know, so last year was 20. Here's an example of this, right? We worked with a firm for 3 years called TGC in just south of Toronto in Canada. And it's four-partner firm. And the last year we worked with them, they had a goal called TUPY, T-U-P-Y, time under prior year. And the goal was 20%, so double-barreled goal, 30 team members, 20% time under prior year, and we're going to refill the 20% and get to 5 mil. So 20% and 5 mil. They did, and they did. And the reward, January this year, so what's that, 11 months ago, they took the entire team to Mexico for a vacation. Happy days. Because they put a self-imposed deadline, 20%. And that was communicated to the team members. Another example of a self-imposed deadline is going to be a client meeting delivery date. Another example is your internal turnaround time. So you know how you work. Back to Parkinson's law. You work great to deadlines. So let's have more than government deadlines. One job at a time. If I just had all the info, I had a deadline and uninterrupted time, I could get this out the door. Productization and systemization. Better systems. And the technology side at the client and the firm. Making sure the client tech integrates with your tech so it's a seamless process. So for example, in my business, I was telling someone about this the other day, we were at an airport, 3 of us. And I noticed my 2 friends, one of them, so we all got a round of drinks, right? My round of drinks, so I'll tell you what the other 2 did first, right? because they're all in business. And one of them put the receipt in his envelope in his briefcase. One put his receipt, took a photograph, and uploaded to Google, right? To a file like Google Drive. And I said, what are you guys doing? I said to Keith, what do you do with the receipts? I give them to Christine and she does the bookkeeping. Jason, what do you do with that receipt? Oh, my bookkeeper in the Philippines goes in and actually reconciles it. And I said, what do you do? I said, let me show you. So I opened up an app, took a photograph, that automatically uploaded it to Xero and reconciled itself. That's the client tech, making sure that flows through to the accounting tech. So if those are the 5 answers, team, just go and do that. Just go and do that. With your team, brainstorm it and answer the question, how much more efficient can your firm be? A lot more efficient. We're giving you the highlights for you here today. There's a lot more depth in this. There's tools, there's position descriptions for the client concierge, there's training for the team members. There's a whole range of templates to go through that. But we want to give you something here for free so you can get into it over the next couple of months. So team, you look at process of efficiency. You look at better process, eliminating bottlenecks, follow the bouncing ball. How can we do that more efficiently? Setting targets, etc. You will get more efficient. But what about you? What about you and how you create time? How do you create time? So last year, we created a delegation model and a creating time model. Now, you can't have more than 24 hours in the day, and it's not the hours that you've got, it's what you do with the hours. So we created a whole process. We did this about 18 months ago, that all of our firm, well, by the way, this particular segment, we've had one firm we know of has done this 5 times. We've got a full training on this as well, 5 times with them and their team, right? To really create time. So to create time, and remember, you're going through this journey to work more on the business, get more efficient, delegate off, and eventually get, if you choose to, get to investor level where you've got all the time in the world and all the money keeps flowing in. Nirvana, love it, right? So how do we create time? Well, first of all, we need to change our thinking. We need to change our thinking and have a mindset shift. And the mindset shift is different to where we're at today. That's a cool graphic. So here's some mindset shifts that you need to focus on. First of all, we all have 86,400 seconds every day. No one is blessed with one more or one less. That is the truth. So if we know that, then let's have a look at how we spend our time. The first one is a popular excuse. I didn't have time. It's not an excuse. We all had the same amount of time. It was just a priority. So if one of your team members or yourself, you say it out loud, I didn't have time to do that. Didn't have time to do that. Yes, you did have time to do that. It just wasn't a priority. Time allocation is a priority, not a resource. Don't let anyone ever give you the excuse you didn't have time. The truth is it wasn't a priority. It's an allocation of time. We can be more efficient than we are. It's a mindset shift. You have to believe it. Now, you instinctively know you're on this webinar with Wendy and myself. So consequently, you know you can be more efficient. Then let's put some things in place to be more efficient. What about this one? Someone else is always better at it than me. That, by the way, is one of the biggest roadblocks to delegation. Oh, I have to do this myself. No one can do it as good as me. I know Wendy is better than me in most things. So why doesn't she do it? Why am I doing this? I love doing it. That's why. So here I am, right? But you have to believe there's someone else better than you to do that task. Here's a mindset shift. We do not need to learn new how-tos. If we go and learn a new how-to, then we will end up doing it ourselves. We need to learn who, not how. Great book by Dan Sullivan and Tom Hardy. Who, not how. We need to figure out who can do this, not how do I learn how to do it. Who can do this? Not how do I do it? We need to change our mindset. There's always someone to hire. There's an abundance of people in this profession, an abundance of people. This is not a hiring and team member session today, but you've got to believe, right? There's a lot of great accountants out there that just don't work for you. Why should they switch and come work for you? You've got to believe they're there to hire. When we let go, we progress. Think of monkey bars in the schoolyard, right? Monkey bars. You had to let go to progress. When you let go of things, you progress. And a last little tip here for a mindset shift is tell them what they need to know, not everything you know. Tell them what they need to know, not everything that you know. Depending on questions, these webinars go from 60 to 90 minutes. We're not going to keep it going past the questions when they run out. When it's done, it's done. We're finished, wrapped up. But we could talk for hours and hours and teach for hours and hours and hours on these topics that we're talking about today. Because Wendy with 25 years, me with just over 30 years, working exclusively with accountants, there's a lot of depth of knowledge there. But we're only going to tell you what you need to know. You need to go with it with your clients. Just because you had a 1-hour meeting in the calendar, it doesn't mean it needs to be an hour. I learned a really cool tip from my old accountant many years ago. And it was along these lines on that last point, right? He said when I first met him, when I first switched years ago, I've switched again in the last 4 years, but I had this accountant for 13 years. And on the very first meeting, he said to me, what would you like to achieve out of today's meeting? This, and this. Great. And he said, I want to add that. Right. We're going to have 4 agenda points. The meeting was done. Just because we had an hour, we were done in 40 minutes. Tell them what they need to know. You don't have to spread it out. So, team, with these mindset shifts, we're about time. We're about efficiency. You need to get your head into a delegation model. We need to delegate our time, the things that we do that are not our highest dollar productive activities. First question is, what are those highest dollar productive activities? And we need to delegate to others. There are 8 areas to delegate to. Some of them are people, some of them are not. 8 areas. So we're going to delegate to, for example, technology. We're going to look at tech, for example, ChatGPT, automation technology, MeetGeek, Firefly's Otter for recording meetings, or other apps to delegate. You should never, ever write notes of a meeting ever again. You should never write notes of a meeting ever again. You can have apps on your phone. You can have apps on Zoom. You can record and send you can have a full recording of your meeting transcribed and then summarized and then sent to clients automatically. Delegate to technology. You can delegate to clients. So, for example, have clients take their own notes, or they can record their meetings if they choose to. Keep their own files. Why do you keep the client files? And you have to train them to do this, delegating to clients. You can delegate to prospects. You're in a sales situation, delegate to prospects. So, for example, if you went with a mindset, no research, limited research, you had the prospect fill in a diagnostic of some sort. You had the prospect fill in, for example, Calendly questions. So Calendly is an app that we use that books meetings, and we've got different styles of meetings. There's many of these apps around, different styles of meetings, and every one of them has questions in it so you can be prepared for the meeting. But it's also self-help booking. Delegate to prospects. You can delegate to the existing team. Ask the question. Someone comes to you, hey, Bob, how do I do this? Well, how would you do it? And they'd go, and go and do that. And eventually they stop asking you. Maybe we call the deep end strategy. Throw them in the deep end, see how they go. And say to your team members, come with a solution as well as questions. If you're going to come to me with a question, I want you to come to a solution. So delegate to existing team members. You can delegate on our fifth one to an assistant. If you don't have an assistant, then you are one. If you don't have an assistant, then you are one. Maybe, well, first question, are you one? Maybe it's a part-time assistant, virtual assistant, maybe it's in person. Delegate to someone. You know, for me, I have an on-demand assistant at $55 an hour. She does a lot of family things, for example. I have a lifestyle assistant, a lifestyle concierge, which we'll talk about in a minute. I have, so on demand again, annual fee. I have an assistant within the business. And I mean, who can do this? Right, send email, send text, can you go into this please? You can delegate to a better process. Maybe you start thinking about under-engineering projects. Under-engineering. You're going to meet Kevin Bassett later in the webinar. Kevin, classic, right? Had this virtual CFO surface. And I saw Kevin back in September. Kevin's from Raleigh, North Carolina. His brother Keith is on the webinar today. Keith attends because Keith is the business manager of Kevin's business. Anyway, so Kevin has this service, a CFO service, that he was making $500 an hour when I first met him. I challenged him. I said, next 3 months, I want you to work out what you can take away on your fixed price and see if you can double it. So take away half the time. He did, and he did. He got it to $1,000 an hour, took some things away that he was doing, which was surplus to requirements. When I saw him in September, I asked the question again, what's the margin on your CFO service? He said about $3,000 an hour. From $500 to $3,000 for the same service by under-engineering, taking things away. What doesn't need to be there? Workflow, our topic today. System documenting, you know, a process, you can delegate to that. You can have a Todd team on demand. There are contractors around the world, ready and willing right now to do work for you. They'll be on Upwork or Freelancer, maybe Get Magic. These are on-demand services. Expert 360, or the lifestyle service that I use is called Quintessentially. There are lifestyle services as well. Quintessentially, I love these guys. They book me all sorts of cool things all over the world. You know, when I've got a trip coming up, I'll message Dominic, can you organize this, and this, make it happen. Maybe I can't even do it myself. They've got contacts all over the world. Team on demand. Who's your permanent team and who's your team on demand? Or other contractors. Other contractors. You have to think, who else can do this, not how do I do it? Who else? And then you've got new hires. The new hired people, are they onshore? Are they offshore? Are they local? Are they interstate? Where are they? Team, Wendy, we're not getting much feedback here on the chat. We just want to double check. Is everyone still here? Or are you engrossed in this? Just give me a yes, you're still here. Keith, cool. Got a few still here. Great. Yes, you're still here. Great. Yeah, good, great. Awesome. We haven't lost them, Wendy. This is good news. This is good news. So, yes, we get all these slides. Yes, you do. You get the slides for sure, and the recording. It'll be April Kane. Good to see you, darling. I haven't seen you for a while. You'll get the recording and you can run this through with your team or just relive it yourself. So we've got a mindset shift on time. Excellent so far. Thank you, Michelle. Mindset shift on time and 8 variations, and there's probably more, of where we can delegate this to. Next step in our process is to determine what you actually do. So what do you do now? This is a step-by-step process on delegation and freeing up time. So we know we haven't changed in our thinking. We know we've got avenues to delegate this work to, but what do you actually do now? So what I want you to do, not right now, of course, but after the webinar maybe, document what you do on a day-by-day. Maybe you go through timesheets, maybe you go through, just thinking through this, keep adding to it. When it starts repeating itself, stop keeping the log. But for example, you might be reviewing work, You might be entering timesheets, team meetings, team training, sales meetings, delivery meetings, cleaning email junk up, client email, random phone calls, bookkeeping, firm admin work, client accounting, consulting, tech research, marketing, reading team email, HR matters. I'm exhausted already, Wendy. Expert opinion, wasted time, or something else. What do you actually do all day? Not you, Wendy, but what do you think? Well, the accuracy. Thank you, Alicia. Yeah, cool. Alicia going, that's my life every day. So, team, work out what you do. That's step one. Then we're going to put a little time log against each one. How much time per month, once you get the full list? Too much time being ADHD. Yep, maybe. So other might be for you, Kathleen, random stuff, right? Or chasing shiny objects, right? Who knows, right? But I'm talking about what you do in your professional life day in, day out. Then work out in hours or minutes for each one, how much time per month. How much time do you actually spend doing these things? And of course, if it's your working life, it should add up to around about 160 hours because we want to look at the whole month on a regular basis. How much time do we spend doing this? Next question is a yes or no. Could you delegate this, assuming we had one of those 8 avenues or maybe more? Could we, and a yes or no on each one, could we delegate it? Or 200 hours, Dennis, right? Thank you. Dennis, you sent out the hosts and panelists. I get that. Well, our objective, by the way, when we work with you, is more than $1 million profit, while the in time of the partners is less than 500 hours. 1,500,000, right? For the year, not the month here, Dennis, right? For the year. So could you delegate that task away? Could you? Next one is, will you delegate it? Again, yes or no. Again, assuming you've got those resources in place to delegate to, or you go and find the resources, right? You've got existing team, new team, you've got contractors, you've got technology, you've got process, you've got prospects. There's lots of areas here. Will you delegate it? Okay, great. Got lots of yeses there. And then who are we going, or what are we going to delegate it to? Manny, I'm going to answer your question in a moment. Let's finish this first. Who or what are you going to delegate? So Manny's asked the question about finding appropriate people, right? Who or what are you going to delegate to? Manny, can you just put in the chat where you're from, please? Location, please. So you do that, and then you say, okay, of all the ones that I would say, yes, I can delegate, and yes, I will, then work out how much new time do you free up? You seriously from Dubbo, Manny? I grew up in Dubbo. Never. Of course. That's so classic. So now we work out minutes or hours. It's a long time ago, Manny. A long, long time ago. Minutes or hours that you're going to save by delegating this away. Add all up, and you've got the new time created per month when you delegate. New time. So this is a worksheet, team. It's a process. I want to talk about people, because people is a mindset. It's only one aspect of where you're going to delegate to. Whether you're in New South Wales, Australia, whether you're in Penticton, Canada, whether in New Jersey, whether you're from Austin, Texas, wherever, you've got to take a global view at people. You've got to take a global view at people, team. And the global view is the people may not be here. They may be elsewhere, offshore, interstate, other country. Here we are, we're in Australia, working with you, wherever you are, via a different technology means. There are people everywhere. They just don't work for you. You've got to give them a reason to work for you. It's not just the money. Wendy, what are we finding with this delegation model?
Yeah. The first thing I wanted to, as you were going through it, the first really important thing to know here is that it's actual evidence. So many of our firms and our prospects come to us and they say, well, I know I don't have the time, but I don't know where it goes. And so this whole process is actually sitting down and getting that factual evidence for yourself. And for some, it's like, oh, that's what I expected. And for others, and they sit back and go, I didn't realize it was this bad. The other big thing that I see that comes out of this process is oftentimes, and I think you're going to talk about this when you talk about team a little bit, oftentimes we realize, 70% of this could be administrative as an example. And we say, well, hey, there's a whole brand new role. This role doesn't exist in our organization. Now, we also have an organizational chart that we recommend as a part of your strategy and your structure for you to take a look at as well. And through this process, you can realize, wow, there is a whole role that we've actually just created by doing this delegation model. And when you're hiring with the right mindset and you're looking for the best of the best, there's a good chance you're going to have somebody that can come in, take a look at this list that you're wanting to delegate and say, yep, I've got it. Let me take it over. Let me do it. Let me create the process. Let me build this out. And off they go. Trust in the fact that there are great people out there that know what to do when you present to them, I need this taken care of. The other thing that's really important to note, and we talked about the ADHD earlier too, is when we do go through this fact-finding mission, it can feel overwhelming. It can send us right back to, oh my goodness, I didn't realize it was this bad, that there's this much, no wonder why I feel this way. And we see ourselves in that spiral. So it's really important that you come back to well, what can I do today? What is one thing that I could put into effect, or I could change, or I could improve just today? And then also leaning on the power of timelines. Maybe it's the first 5 things that can be achieved in the next 3 months. Why? Because those people are already in the organization. It would just be a little bit of retraining, maybe writing some systems and processes, done. And giving ourselves reasonable timelines to actually go from where we are today to where we want to be. You can take it that slow way, or you can be like Shannon Stewart, for those of you that met her on our webinar last month, and you can say, no more, that's it, here's my hard line, and you do it instantly. You make it happen. And so there's plenty of options there. But that is typically what this process is. It's the evidence that you need in order to move forward and out of your current situation.
And team, a lot of this is a mindset. As Kathleen said, loves the team in the Philippines. We've got a team in the Philippines as well. The team don't need to be in the office. They can be anywhere. COVID was a gift to you all. One of the best gifts you've ever had in my 30 years working with you. And that is the gift of client communication acceptance levels. Client communication acceptance levels. They can have a digital relationship with you rather than an in-person relationship. So team, we're going to create some time by delegating this away. Whoops, we've got to slide again. Why did I do that? Oh. So the big question is, what are you going to do with the new time? What are you going to do with the new time you free up? Well, if you free up a lot of the time you've got, which is typically, as Wendy said, admin time, or alternatively, it could be time I can give to someone else of doing the accounting work. Free yourself up to grow the business, right? Spend more, you've been working in it. Now let's spend more time working on it. Let me introduce you to Kevin Bassett. His brother Keith is on this webinar. I saw Keith earlier on there. Here's Kevin.
Hi, my name's Kevin Bassett. I'm the owner of Bassett & Associates, a CPA firm in North Carolina, and I'm here today to talk to you about Profitable Partners and Rob Nixon's program for accounting firms. Now, I've been in this program for about 5 years, and I'm doing this video today because I've gotten phenomenal results from the program, and my wife and I are eternally grateful. I'm in no way compensated for this. I simply want to get the word out to my fellow accountants. Now, Rob's brand promise is $1 million of profit per partner while working only 500 charge hours in your accounting business. And I can attest that this program actually works. I've blown past the $1 million since the second year in the program and continue to climb. And my hours are a little bit above 500 hours, but they're come way, way down. I live at the beach over half of the year, and I don't prepare a single tax return anymore. In fact, I can't prepare a tax return because I don't even have a login to the tax software, so I don't even do my own tax return anymore. So Rob's program clearly works. Now, I love the accounting profession because we provide an absolute ton of value to our clients. However, as a profession, we are notoriously underpaid for that value that we do provide. So in my opinion, we should all be working and making north of $1 million if we're any good. Now, why did I join? Okay, a little bit about my firm. So at the time, we were a little bit above $2 million in revenue, and net profit was a little bit below $700,000, and it actually declined a little bit from the year before. So we were sliding slowly in the wrong direction, which isn't good. Now I'm going to show you a picture. And what this picture is, this is October 15th, a tax deadline, and it was just before I joined the program. This is why we joined the program. So there's two huge problems with this picture that I'm sure you can see. All right, number one, as a firm, we have had a policy of not filing a single tax return on the tax deadline to avoid rush jobs where mistakes happen. But as you can see here, we had a bunch of rush jobs and filed a whole bunch of returns on that day. Now, the second very obvious problem with this picture is we were supposed to be paperless, as most firms are. And we had been until right here at this deadline. And what happened is we got super busy and stressed and had a whole bunch of rush jobs. We completely abandoned our processes and went to the old way of doing things. And as a result, I had dozens of paper files to review that day. Not good. So we obviously had a giant workflow problem that needed to be fixed. So I was practically throwing my credit card at Rob when I joined days later. Now, I've seen many other firms join for many other reasons and still get huge benefits. So trust me, whatever your issues are, since Rob's an expert and thought leader in our profession, he's seen them before and he can help. Now, on that note, I do recommend that as you join this program, you identify your top issue or top 3 issues of why you're joining. And if you have partners, I recommend you get buy-in amongst the partners and agreement on what those issues are. Next, a very important thing is figure out how much it's costing you while you wait and fail to fix those issues. Now, regardless of the reason you join, also keep an open mind, because as you join the program, you're also going to fix a whole bunch of other issues that probably aren't even on your radar. And I know for us, we certainly did, as did other firms in my peer group. All right. In summary, the accounting profession is amazing, and owning an accounting firm can also be amazing if you run it well. Now, the good news is Rob's program is a roadmap to do just that. You simply have to commit. And I speak not only for myself, but other firms I've met in my group that have gotten absolutely transformational results. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the boardroom.
So team, Kevin's problem started with workflow, then changed that because we fixed that, moved on to business management, pricing, marketing. Kevin spends most of his days these days growing the top line business. He'll say sales through 5 million this year, still sole owner in Raleigh, North Carolina. So team, as you go through this, you've got to think, okay, why? What's holding you back, right? What are the things that are holding you back? Is it, for example, pricing and packaging? What's holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve in this accounting business? Is it communication program with current and future clients? Is it your workflow efficiency model? Is that the big thing? That's why you're here. Many of you come to all of our webinars. Awesome. Is it your time utilization model? What that's holding you back on progress? Is it a top line thing on marketing, community to market to? Is it marketing and sales that actually works? Is it product mix? Or is it a people thing, including your own mindset, your organizational structure, your team performance? I don't know. Everyone is different. Everyone is different as to what's holding you back. But I got to say, one of the big things that holds firms back is being too comfortable with the current situation. This could be you, it could be your partners, because if you're comfortable, you're not going to move. Here's what Bob Riggs had to say about the comfort zone. He said, many of us have established this comfort zone in our lives. We're coasting, getting by. It's okay. Common, understandable attitude. We've all worked hard to get there. May seem like a good place to be. But the problem with this is once we stop reaching, stretching, seeking, and risking, we actually stop growing. And the comfort zone is settling for where you are today. And that may be fine today, but without continual growth, you are now where you're always going to be. And if you're in the comfort zone, beware. It might actually feel good. So team, for you to transform, you need a healthy discontent for the present. The level of annoyance must be high enough that you say, right, I want to change. I want to change. What's going to transform? Your profit, your cash, your revenue, your team, your clients, your lifestyle, your wealth, and yourself. So if you want to transform, Kevin mentioned it, that you need accountability, you need learning, and you need group sharing as well. Content alone, which is what today is about, right? Content alone, you get a bit of a burst. Awesome. You get the slides, no worries. I'll send those to you. Fantastic. And you'll get a bit of a burst and then you'll drop it. That is just the nature of life. But with proper coaching and how-to tools and implementation support, you keep the pressure on and you keep stimulating, you sail through the roof and you transform a whole range of areas. From today, you've got three choices. You can do nothing. That was nice, got some good ideas, but I'm okay, did nothing. You can do a little bit on your own. Great, no problem at all. You can do that as well, up to you. Or if you choose to, and you're the right fit for us and we're the right fit for you, you can really transform this firm of yours into what you want it to be to create real wealth for you. There are three parts to how we work with you. We have a coaching part, we have a content part, and a community part. So coaching in group and one-on-one, content, a whole library of tools, and then community are the other firms we connect you with for them to help you as well. Don't discount that. So three parts to that. We work in North America, USA and Canada. We've got a couple of Australian firms that actually fly to the US, although we live in Australia, that's by choice. We don't service anywhere else other than USA and Canada. As far as if you want to fly there, that's fine. And it's at the start, we've got some capacity to help some firms increase profit and decrease time. You need to be more than $1 million in revenue. You need to be 1 to 5 aligned partners. We don't want big partnerships. You need to be ambitious because we're going to push you. We're not talking small tweaks of the dials here. We're talking let's supercharge this. And you need to be coachable, which means you need to implement. If that's you, then let's meet and see if we can help. You can either use the QR code or alternatively message in the chat. Wendy, what do you find in these meetings that you're discovering at the moment with firms that you're talking to?
So that's probably an important piece. You know, when we get together, we're wanting just to first and foremost find out how your business is currently performing. So we're asking questions around, you know, what are the numbers? You know, what are the systems and processes that you already have built in? So we're looking for the good stuff you guys have already done. But then what we're finding is a whole range of reasons why people are wanting to have this conversation. And oftentimes it's like, well, we've come this far, but I feel like there's still more that I could achieve. Or I'm really looking for that roadmap or that blueprint on what else I should be doing or where else I can get this. Oftentimes it's about creating an amazing future for the team as well as for the client. So it's saying, look, we've built this great business, but we want to provide these enhancements, more training, more development, more progression for everybody, you know, have a real winning team. So it's a whole mixed bag of why people come to us. And Kevin explained that in his video as well, which I love that he captured that. It's so true. Some of you have a problem glaring you in the face. You know, this is the issue that I need to solve. And when we have a chat with you, we're able to identify, well, how that stems out into other areas of your business. And for others of you, you just simply know you just want to do better than what you have, or you want more than what you have, or you want to not have this business be running you, but you in a position where you're running it. And so we have all sorts of discoveries on these calls, but the primary thing is we just want to understand what's going on in your business, see if we can help you, and either which way, we're giving you some pointers or some ideas to go away with from that meeting.
Awesome. So team, we come to the end. If you'd like to catch up, then great, let's catch up. Use the meeting in the chat or the QR code. We're going to wrap up. You've got a few weeks to the end of the year. Knock it out hard. Let's get a record year this year, at least set up for next year. Hope you found that valuable and useful and something you can implement over the next couple of months to get ready for workflow. For those that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. But I'm going to say Happy New Year. And let's turn the year with a different looking accounting business in 2025. All the best, everyone. Have fun. Knock it out of the park. See you later. Bye-bye.
See you all.